Welcome. My name is Ed Latson, and I'm the Executive Director for ARMA, a trade association representing manufacturers in Central Texas. It's a pleasure to be here with you today at the YTexas Summit as we discuss making in Texas a manufacturing story. Manufacturing is thriving here. It's a critical strategic sector across the state, employing 1 million people and contributing more than $240 billion to GDP. Our output surpasses that of manufacturing in Russia and in Mexico. We lead the nation in exports and have done so for the past 20 years. It's a diverse community of companies, from Fortune 500s to 3- and 4-man operations, and we produce everything from rockets to computers to some of the most advanced automobiles on the road, and we make some pretty good vodka too. I'm honored to be joined here today by 3 leaders from important companies that are making an impact in the state and also making an impact in the world. Please help us welcome Brian Regan, Director of Manufacturing and Execution Systems with Samsung Semiconductor, Dave Stewart, Vice President of Operations with HID Global, and Mark Hunter, Senior Director of Supply Chain for Luminex Corp. Brian, let's start with you. You know, it's been 25 years since Samsung selected Austin as its first fab outside of Korea. It's one of the biggest foreign investments in the United States. In fact, Samsung is the biggest property taxpayer in Texas. It's an order of magnitude that most people can't even understand. Can you briefly discuss Samsung's success in Texas?
Yeah, sure. I'll start out by saying, it's been really an honor for Samsung Austin Semiconductor to be a part of the community over the last 25 years. When you look at our history, we started as an 8-inch line producing DRAM memory. In 2007, we actually opened up our 12-inch line doing flash memory and followed that up with a conversion of our 8-inch line to a 12-inch line. In 2011, we actually started producing LSI chips at the site. And then in 2017, we became a foundry. So I think in terms of the success, I like to look at it not just of the actual conversion projects, the retooling and resystems that went on during that time, but also that we've been able to convert our factory really to meet the business need and meet what the market need is.
Well, you've been terrific corporate citizens, and for those of you who don't know, Samsung is in the process of evaluating where they're going to put their next fab. Texas is competing with Phoenix and New York, and we really want to see that investment land here. We really hope that the people in Central Texas do whatever they can to make sure that happens, because it's important for all of us. Mark, Luminex Corp is making critical medical equipment. Most people are unaware of the work that you're doing. Talk for a moment about your business and how the pandemic has impacted the company.
I kid with people that my children had no idea what I did for a living until 2020, and it seems like now the whole world knows what PCR diagnostic tests are and global supply chain disruptions. So we've been in the diagnostic business for 20 years. Luminex was founded here in Austin in 1995, and we have been in the business making diagnostic tests prior to COVID-19. But really, along with a lot of our colleagues in the industry, we were really excited to be able to be part of the solution. And so we developed a COVID test very rapidly in March of 2020. And to date, we've shipped over 3 million COVID tests. And so, it's been an exciting year and a half. For us, really, the work from home kind of situation never really happened. We were in the office every day partnering with our healthcare clinicians, and we're thrilled to be a part of the solution.
Well, you guys have done terrific work, and I'm curious, during the surge, has that also ramped up, demand for your products?
It absolutely has. I mean, we've seen not only an increase on diagnostic products, but we've actually seen a significant increase on our life science research products. So some of our core technologies and reagents are actually used Pfizer in the vaccine development. So, from top to bottom, from life science research up to the actual point of care, test in the hospital, we serve all those markets. So it's been very exciting, and we've seen huge increases in demand.
Mm-hmm. Dave, anyone that's used a card-controlled access to a building has probably heard of HID, or at least seen the initials. In 2015, the company consolidated many operations around the United States into a headquarters in Austin, a move that you helped lead. Looking back over the last 7 years, what's your thought process on that decision? And do you think people feel like Texas has lived up to the expectations?
Absolutely do. I think it was coming to Austin was a great move for HID. I think one of the criteria that went into the decision was the talent pool that the city had to offer. Not only was it an established technology town, but you also had the support of a great university system, not just in Austin proper, but within Central Texas. So we knew that would be a great draw. But as we consolidated the manufacturing, fulfillment, and corporate offices here, what we found over the years is that we've actually improved ourselves as a business. We've improved the talent. It forced us to do some things that otherwise would have been difficult to do as we were spread out across 4 different locations in the U.S. We broke down old processes. We were able to re-standardize. We basically restructured our supply chain so that we now use the leverage of the whole of the business instead of it fragmented the way that it was before. So it's given us a lot of leverage. It's driven a lot of efficiency. And like I said, the talent in Austin is just it's fantastic, and we've been able to use that to our advantage.
You've touching on this in your comments, but in closing, where do you see the region in 5 years, and where are we as a manufacturing community? Dave?
Based on the way things have been going, Ed, I think Austin is it's always been known as kind of that technology town, but I think also people are going to recognize the diversity in Austin's manufacturing. We talked earlier about how it's really grown over the years, but it's not just in the tech sector. Mark is a good example, in his industry, but then also, some of the other things that we do in Austin that people just aren't aware of. And I think it's going to be a large manufacturing base, but I think it's going to be a very diverse manufacturing base as well, which is good for the economy because it'll drive some balance.
How about you, Mark?
Yeah, I would reiterate the point on innovation. I think we're going to see a lot of companies relocate to Austin, but I think we're also going to see a lot of innovation in startups. The technology kind of culture is going to create companies that we don't even know about today. And 5 years from now, there may be a brand name. So I think that's exciting, and we need to create a culture that fosters that.
Brian.
Yeah, to really, kind of add on to that culture piece, what I'd like to see is, more actually kind of, the secondary to the manufacturing sector, which is, more local presence from our suppliers and our vendors. For semiconductor manufacturing, a lot of our, chemicals or spare parts actually come, from out of state, or in some cases out of country. And it's actually on my side, from the system side, no different too. We rely on spare parts from all over the world, really. And sometimes having to fly experts in, to work on some of the technology with us. So I really would love to see, more of a local presence from those vendor and supplier companies. So that way we could utilize their technology and learn from them and how it makes best for our manufacturing environment also.
Well, excellent. I totally agree. I think we're at a pivot point. I think, you see so much economic development happening around Central Texas, around the state, that it's going to be very interesting to see where we are. I think it's going to be an even bigger, more dynamic economy with companies and products that are changing the world. So it's going to be exciting to see. I'm glad we're all a part of it. And I think that's a great place to end. I really appreciate each of you for taking the time to be a part of this conversation. And I'd also like to thank our audience for attending and being part of the YTexas Summit. We will see you next time.